Yo guys, what is up? Max here in our first Descendant video, and today we're going over the dev Q&A. Now, I kind of thought that this was going to be like a live thing where they were going to have a stream and ask people for questions and we're going to get responses. Turns out they just compiled basically all of the feedback that they've gotten since launch and responded to all of it. There is crazy amounts of information here, even going into what's going to be coming in season 3. So we're going to break down everything you guys need to know. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get right into it. So this was broken down into 4 categories: combat, content, equipment, customizations. They've took suggestions and basically responded to all of them in each of these categories. To start, player suggestion: we want more content aligned with hack and slash and run and gun styles. They say that they're developing future content to align with this, and that they've taken feedback regarding invasion content not fitting this approach. Agree there. Player suggestion 2, improve invasion content. We're currently focusing on our development efforts on new content that aligns with hack and slash and run and gun direction. So we don't have specific plans to revamp invasions at this time. However, we're expanding our team and will continue to work on improving underutilized use or less popular content alongside development of new content. More boss patterns, improved invincible patterns, or hidden mechanics. We're implementing patches to replace some boss patterns with new ones. New bosses will be added to the new content in season 2, so new bosses in season 2, and we're getting new monster types in season 3. Should be pretty cool. Next up, farming missions feel too long and tedious. We'd like adjustments to mission duration or pacing. We've learned from feedback that players enjoy missions with constant monster spawns and the freedom to roam while fighting. They changed all of the missions to extermination missions. That was a great change. We aim to create content with a dense combat experience rather than just fast-paced progression, thus allowing for hack and slash and run and gun gameplay. We'll also be improving the existing field missions to make repeated farming more enjoyable. Good change there. Player suggestion: improve grappling hooks, cooldown reduction, out of combat cooldown reduction. Here they make an interesting note. They want players to be able to like keep up with Bunny with grappling hooks. So to address this, we're considering improving grappling hook or introducing new default mobility skills or movement items in the medium to long term. We're working to improve co-op play so that players can run and fight together. They basically just don't want Bunny to be like leading the pack too much. So interesting change there. Player suggestion: remove guided missiles. They already did that. There was a patch like yesterday for guided missiles. Add invincibility frames when rolling. They're saying they're not going to do that. Player suggestion 4, increase HP and MP recovery outside of combat. They say that there are already ample means to recover HP and MP during combat, so not really looking into that too much. Make it easier to get ammo supplies, especially for special rounds. We're exploring ways to increase the utilization of special rounds, and we'll implement improvements as soon as possible. Good change there. Improve equipment swapping during combat. They had that originally, and then they nerfed it because people were like, equipment swapping is part of their builds. So they say that we plan to allow module changes on restarts after mission completions, but not during combat. That's a good change. I would love to see that. It is kind of annoying when you load into a mission with like the wrong settings and then you have to like back out and then go back in. So if you could just change that real quick, would be awesome. The suggestion is to remove player collisions between party members for smoother movement. Basically, they say that we've reviewed this in the past and do not proceed with any changes at the time, but we plan to revisit again. Probably won't see any changes to collision anytime soon. Improve terrain features that interfere with run and gun gameplay in the fields. They say that we will continue to work on long-term level design improvements to ensure a smoother gameplay experience. They said that they did adjustments, basically this update to terrain, and are going to be working on it in the future. Allow shooting while running instead of walking when moving backwards for a better sense of speed. They say basically we plan to keep it as is, but we'll consider if there's significant player request. I don't think you need to be moving way faster while moving backwards. They say that it makes it feel less natural if that was the case, so I'm fine with that. Early growth. Early story difficulty is too high, making progression challenging, so reduction in difficulty is needed. They said that they nerfed normal missions basically in 1.16, which just happened, and then we'll continue to analyze and improve the difficulty and progression support in the early game. Content requiring initial learning should be more detailed and mandatory. Module enhancements offer rewards to alleviate the stress from such mandatory tasks. Provide a support package to help with new player growth. We're preparing several support strategies in Season 2. We plan to reward players with enhanced modules as they progress through the story. We'll also reduce the farming difficulty for Enzo and Glay to allow players to have more Descendants in the early stages and help them reach hard difficulty. Additionally, we'll introduce better guides, help features, and clearer difficulty indicators to support players in settling into the early game. I think all of that is fantastic. There's definitely a bit of struggle with trying to figure out what you need to do to your character to level it up, with players kind of struggling against some of the Colossus fights and not knowing what direction they should be taking to improve their characters. All of these changes sound pretty good. Add a feature to disable party member effects. They say that we understand that visibility can be an issue when multiple effects occur simultaneously, and there can be optimization issues depending on the device. To address this, we agree that there needs to be a step-by-step feature to toggle effects on and off. However, simply toggling effects based on party members and oneself makes it difficult to identify buffs from party members, so we believe grouping effects for the on-off controls and stage is necessary. Although it's not on the roadmap yet, we will begin discussions immediately due to ongoing optimization issues on some devices in the 400% dungeon update. We'll provide further details through the dev notes once plans are solidified. So they're looking into it. They are aware that optimization issues and performances are bad in 400% dungeons. Hopefully we get some changes there. Next, improve the applied buff UI as all the buffs are small and green, making them hard to distinguish. We're working on better ways to identify buffs. We plan to make improvements as soon as possible. Better Descendant and weapon balance. So far, we've focused on reworking specific Descendants and weapons in each patch. For Season 2, we're planning on an overall rebalance to allow players to choose from a broader range of weapons and Descendants. Really cool there. Seems like we might get a pretty massive balance patch for Season 2, which is dropping December 5th. Player suggestion 2, the low reward drop rates feel more difficult than they should. Please improve farming difficulty. This is if you're going to sit up for any of the points in this video, this is pretty big one. To address the drop rate concerns in Season 2, we're introducing the target reward system. While certain items have a 20% drop rate, some players might obtain the item on their first try, while others may not get it even after 10 attempts. Our analysis of server-wide logs show that overall drop rates align with the intended 20%, but individual players' experiences often do not converge to this 20%, leading to variability. The target reward system aims to address this by allowing players to select a mission and earn guaranteed rewards after a set number of attempts. Additionally, we plan to offer enhanced shape stabilizers as limited time event rewards, which increase the chance of obtaining rare items while opening amorphous materials. We're committed to providing a balanced farming experience that feels fair to all players. So this is pretty insane. Basically, they're saying that if you're going to do a mission and you want something that's a rare drop, you can basically do it a set amount of times, and if you don't get it after running that dungeon 10 times for its drop, you can basically get it guaranteed, which is pretty insane. That is definitely a massive change to farming and should make things easier to acquire. So pretty cool change there. Next, we've got story suggestions. The overall storyline feels short or incomplete, and there's a desire for more expansion on the backstories of key characters and story progression. The story seems to progress to a certain point and then feels like it stalls. There's a desire for main story to continue consistently. We plan to expand the main story with each season, and we're increasing our team size to deliver more story content. Our goal is to provide a richer storytelling experience, not only for the main plot, but also for the stories of the Descendants. Player suggestion 2, we'd like to see deeper stories explaining why characters are in their current situations. In Season 3, we'll focus on Glay's story within the main plot. We've noticed that many players resonate more with the personal drama of the Descendants than the overarching storyline, so we plan to ensure the main story also captures the Descendants' narratives. Real quick, I just want to give some feedback before we keep going forward on the, we plan to expand the main story with each season, and we're increasing our team size to deliver more story content. In Season 1, the story content that we received and kind of the missions that we did, we're basically doing the exact same missions and fighting the same enemies in the same areas that we had fought, with some different voices talking. You had some voices talking to you, and you had some dialogue with certain characters to expand the story, and one cutscene. I think the big thing with new content and new seasonal content is that we want to, at least in my opinion, I would love to see like genuinely new content created for story content. For example, like the Freyna backstory mission, we were just running the like exact same dungeon with the same boss in it, and then there was a cutscene afterwards. I would love to see like a new with season 2 drops with a new dungeon that has some story in it, or there's like a new area that opens up in one of the maps for some story content. I don't think the story content that's being provided right now is adequate because it's not actually creating any new content. It's just new like dialogue and new cutscenes, but your experience of doing those same missions is the exact same. So I'd love to see them kind of look. I know it's not like the greatest example, but I think Destiny's seasons, there's like new missions or new bosses or new things that are coming with the story content. They've got like new areas that will drop with new seasons. I think something like that would be really helpful to making the overall content offering of the game more exciting. So just wanted to point that out. Player suggestion 3, some players want a system where the story changes based on their choices, leading to different outcomes. We don't believe offering choices and multiple endings align with the direction of the first Descendant. I totally agree. I don't think that's needed at all. They're not planning on adding it. We'd like to see new characters and abilities added as the current roster lacks diversity. We're exploring ways to introduce more new characters, and as a result, we will introduce 2 new Descendants, 1 male and 1 female in Season 2. New Ultimate Descendants will also be added. We'll continue our efforts to bring more diverse and innovative Descendants. Great change there. I bet you we're going to get 1 new Descendant at the start of the season and 1 new Descendant as a mid-season update. Hopefully that means that both the Descendants can launch with their Transcendent modules. I think that is awesome. That's just going to, speed up the pace at what we're getting content and new things to play. And very cool that we are getting a new male Descendant. If I'm not mistaken, we haven't gotten a new male Descendant yet. So awesome there. Next up, adding characters that enable more diverse combat styles, especially characters specialized in range attacks, support abilities, and co-op play. We hope to see more unique characters with complex skill mechanics or specialized combat styles. They have a pretty interesting note here. So we're working on adding more characters with diverse abilities to offer a brighter gameplay experience. However, we believe that this also requires more varied content. Currently, the content is divided into 2 main types: intercept battles, which involve defeating a large boss, and exterminations, which focus on defeating many monsters. As a result, characters optimized for these 2 content types are highlighted. We think it's necessary to diversify the content to allow for a wider range of character choices. At the same time, we're carefully testing new content to avoid creating an environment where new characters feel required as choices for this content. As soon as the new content is ready, we'll seek player feedback through their focus group test and dev notes. I think this is like a pretty smart note here. They're saying that they're like looking at creating new content or avoiding new content to create an environment where new characters feel required, but they also want like another subtype. Right now, for example, if you're making a build guide, you have a mobbing build and a bossing build. Those are the 2 kind of content, but that could be more varied. For example, mobbing right now, we've got 2 kinds of content where it's like mobbing as in dungeons where you're going through a dungeon and you're traversing, and then you've got mobbing like the defense missions where you're kind of standing in one place. And right now the best characters for that and like is basically Freyna and Bunny, and they work really well for both. There's not kind of like a difference between like on the go mobbing and defense type of mobbing, and so kind of really honing in on stuff like that could be really interesting to make for more varied characters and builds. So hopefully they flesh that out and also add some new content where new types of Descendants can shine. Cool idea there. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee real quick. Player suggestion 1. Current dungeons are repetitive and lack new challenges and enemy types. We need dungeons that are more challenging and require strategic thinking, as there's currently a lack of content to challenge core players. I think what they mean here is like kind of like more so like dungeon mechanics. And they say that the dungeons in Season 2 will feature a new type of monster. So we have new bosses and new monsters in Season 2 and 3, I guess. We'll also recognize the need for more challenging endgame content. So we're preparing a range of endgame experiences for Season 2. Awesome. This includes adding higher difficulty special operations, needed that, and intercept battles, as well as content that gradually increases in difficulty to challenge the toughest stages. We're hoping to continue to expand the range of endgame experiences. That sounds all really great. We had defenses that went to stage 21, but it was super easy. It sounds like we might be getting high difficulty special operations with hopefully high waves that you can go to. Maybe something like Warframe where you can kind of just go infinitely and the difficulty just ramps and ramps and ramps. I'd love to see like a horde mode introduced into the game, especially in like high difficulty situations. And it looks like they're going to be adding higher difficulty intercept battles. I don't know if that means that they're going to be adding a boss or bosses that are harder than that Deathstalker, or they're going to be adding a new difficulty of intercept bosses. Like we've got normal hard and then like extra hard. I personally would love to see like an extra hard intercept battle thing, because right now we melt most of the bosses in about 4 seconds. Obviously, with matchmaking, it can be very different. People are still struggling to matchmake and have good groups for bosses, which we'll talk about later. I'm not sure that's something that they addressed here, but we'll talk about it kind of at the end of this video. Next, player suggestion 2, we need large monsters. Currently, there's only small, normal, and medium monsters. We'd like to see Vulgus mobs with weak points that can be targeted. We'll take the idea of large Vulgus mobs that have weak points into consideration, kind of a weird specific suggestion, and discuss them with the relevant departments. We recognize the perception of a large or a lack of large monsters in missions and dungeons. Are also mindful of level design constraints. To address this, we plan to create new fields that provide a field combat experience with a mix of large monsters. That sounds actually pretty good. Next up, bosses' attack patterns and combat styles are somewhat monotonous. We hope to see void intercept battles with more complex patterns. We're striving to balance adding complexity to patterns to increase difficulty while ensuring they remain intuitive for players. We believe the Deathstalker update aligned well with this goal. Going forward, we'll continue to update intercept battles by adding new patterns, ensuring they're both intuitive and strategically fair. Like that. We'd like to see a stronger emphasis on the importance of co-op play in dungeons. They have an interesting note here. It says, we intend to maintain... So we understand that there are mixed feelings about the emphasis on co-op play. Dungeons and the First Descendant are designed to be able to be played solo with the option for smoother and faster progression in a group. We intend to maintain this approach while enhancing co-op synergy, which we believe should be supported by player abilities or content difficulty. Currently, the lower difficulty of content may make the need for co-op less apparent, but as we introduce more challenging endgame content, we anticipate that the demand for co-op play will grow naturally. One thing that I do want to point out, which I find kind of interesting, is we know that in Season 2, they're going to be adding mega dungeons. That was kind of on the roadmap. It's interesting that they're not mentioning that here. Like, hey, you know, in the mega dungeons, you might need to work as a team. But no mention of that. Obviously, they say more challenging endgames, so that could include the mega dungeons. But I figured they would have like brought that up as like, because I'm assuming mega dungeons are going to be more like dungeons or like small raids. So, you know, hopefully that is what it is, but they didn't really like specifically call that out by name. Next, improve the structure of amorphous outpost farming methods. Hallelujah. I had to farm outposts yesterday for the perforator. I hated it. We agree that the farming and opening methods for amorphous materials in outpost fragments and fusion reactors needs to be improved. Our team has been exploring a variety of ways to enhance outposts, such as implementing a system where players are rewarded after a minute of continuous combat. However, we're approaching this carefully as it may put Sharon players who have less monster killing power at a disadvantage. We recognize that the current outpost route is less engaging compared to the infiltration route, and we're firmly committed to making improvements. We'll thoroughly review all options to ensure positive changes for everyone and actively consider the ideas players share with us. So, it sounds like they're thinking about making Outpost kind of an arena mode where you just kind of fight in the arena of the Outpost, and after the longer you're fighting, the more rewards you're going to get. And obviously, that would put Sharon players at a disadvantage. I'm going to be honest, like I like that idea of kind of an arena fight for the Outpost, but we already have like a bazillion types of kind of fast-paced, engaging content. I don't mind that the Outposts are slower, more methodical. You have to play Sharon, you have to infiltrate, but I think what people are complaining about with Outposts is the chance of getting the rewards from them. Obviously, you've got a minute-long cooldown, which you have to wait, and then you've got a chance to get the amorphous material that you're getting, that you want with Sharon, and a lot of those times, those chances feel terrible. I've done 10 Outposts in a row, not getting a single drop for the thing that I want. Farming drops in like normal mode for the amorphosis feels way better because you've got a 20% chance to get the thing that you want and then another 20% chance to get the thing that you want, versus like hard mode, you've got like a 25% chance. And so I think they could keep the outpost structure as is, but just buff drop rates for amorphoses. Make it like a 50% to get the thing that you want, or like a 50% to get the amorphoses. And then if you play Sharon, you get like an additional 25%. Those aren't like exact numbers. They could adjust it to however they see fit. But I think the larger complaint with Outpost is, one, the minute-long timer that you have to wait, but more so the fact that you can do them for an hour. I think I saw a Reddit post today. Someone did an an Outpost farm for an hour and didn't get the amorphous that they wanted once. It just needs to be more rewarding. It doesn't need to turn into an arena fight, in my opinion. Next up, player suggestion 6, remove unreasonable penalties for content, weapon modules, inversions, etc. We've received considerable feedback regarding penalties on invasion, inversion reinforcements, and similar areas. Currently, we're not considering penalties when designing new content. Instead, we aim to provide attribute bonuses to encourage a wider variety of character use. Moving forward, we plan to balance content to avoid imposing penalties on participation. We'll also review the penalties on ultimate weapons to make them usable without penalties even at base levels, ensuring a more enjoyable experience. We plan to retain the plus-minus effect for modules, as it offers an optimization to maximize positive effects when configuring characters or builds where certain stats aren't needed. Alongside the plus-minus effect, we'll also introduce plus-plus effect modules, providing players with even more customization options. Big thing here, obviously the like penalties on the inversion buffs were not great. I think a bigger thing that they need to look at is the penalties, and they don't really like specifically address it here, but the penalties of equipping certain transcendent modules. Just off the top of my head, Sharon has a transcendent module. I think it's like Cutting Force, that changes her one ability into a more of a ranged projectile that travels out, and that is awesome for Sharon, but it loses 600% of its modifier. You're going from hitting multiple millions of damage on Sharon with her one on a 0-second cooldown to hitting about 1 million damage on a 0-second cooldown, and getting like massively penalized for equipping transcendent modules. Like, that doesn't feel very good. Obviously, I'm fine with a bit of a trade-off. You can deal a range damage, but it deals slightly less, but you're losing more than half of your damage for putting on a transcendent module on the ability that you want to buff. The same thing happens with Sharon's fourth ability, transcendent module, that lets her target enemies. You lose half of your damage on your ultimate in order to just cast the ability faster. There needs to be a like deeper look into the negative effects of transcendent modules, because transcendent modules should allow you to enhance the playstyle and the damage and performance of abilities, when half the time you're putting on a transcendent module, you're actually nerfing your performance in exchange for some quality of life. And I think that's something they really need to look into. Player suggestion 7, please consider accessibility options for visually and hearing impaired players when developing content. Based on Descendant feedback, we've enhanced encrypted vault navigation by adding visual effects, though we recognize that accessibility options are still lacking. Moving forward, we're committed to gradually introducing more accessibility features. Good stuff there. Events. The events have been held, are currently ongoing, aren't very engaging, and the rewards aren't sufficient to encourage engagement. Current events are repetitive. We'd like to see more creative and new events, such as seasonal special events. I totally agree with that. They say we're running web events to offer a wider variety of event experiences and plan to enhance accessibility by complementing them with in-game event features. We aim to provide various in-game events such as attendance checks and event stores, so players can enjoy more activities within the game itself. During periods without major updates, we'll continue to support gameplay through events, establishing them as a key content feature. I want to make another note here. I'm probably just going to keep giving feedback on some of these things. The top note from players says events are repetitive. We want to see new and creative events. And they're responding with, we want to see like in-game events such as like attendance checks and like event store events. For me personally, like obviously the free customization and like free loot is great part of events, But I think what we're really looking forward in events, at least me personally, I don't want to speak for people that aren't me, but we're looking for events that are actually adding new content and stuff to play. For example, if you added a Halloween event, right? We had a Halloween event. But with the Halloween event basically just added new things to purchase, right? It was like some emotes, some cool customizations. All that is great. I think that should all stay. What the Halloween event didn't add is any sort of new actual content to play that would coincide with a Halloween event. For example, maybe with the Halloween event, we add or like retheme one of the dungeons where one of the dungeons you can do is Halloween themed and there's like a pumpkin boss at the end. And when you beat the dungeon, you get rewards and points towards your Halloween store and you can earn some free cosmetics with that. That way you get the free cosmetic side of the events that people like. They like the cosmetics, they like the resources, but then actually give us something that varies up the content and breaks up normal content patterns so that we're going to be playing something that's new and we have something that's cool to enjoy for like the month. We have got the Halloween dungeon that's got pumpkin bosses, and maybe the Halloween dungeon has like a new weapon that's like Halloween themed or something like that. The content side of events is just not there at the moment. So I'd love to see them look into something like that. Obviously, just like a generic example, I'm not saying I really want like a pumpkin boss in the game, but the like actual like content side is missing from events, and they don't mention that here. So I just wanted to bring it up. We'd like to see special rewards like character skins. We're always carefully considering event structures and rewards. As previously mentioned, we're planning to introduce new event features, and along with growth items, materials, and currency rewards, we're exploring other options, including character skins, to enhance motivation and satisfaction. Ideally, these skins will align with the season's theme, and we're looking into ways for players to earn them simply through event participation and gameplay. Earn skins through participation in gameplay is great. That's something that this game has been needing for a while. If you want to take a look at, for example, Diablo 4, Diablo 4 has cosmetic customization options that you can unlock only through gameplay, and they are like a cool kind of trophy, something that you can show off as like, hey, I've played this game a lot. You've got like mounts in WoW that are pure cosmetic, that are like, hey, I like beat this dungeon and look at the mount that I've got. Diablo's got like, oh, I got this super rare drop from this boss, or I get this super rare cosmetic drop from the butcher. They added these new boss skins, like the Executor skin or the Dead Bride skin, and they just made them paid things that you could purchase. Imagine if you could earn that skin after you killed Dead Bride like 100 times. Or imagine if it was like a rare 2% drop from Dead Bride. Something that would be like really cool, that's just cosmetic only, that's something to like strive for. One of the changes yesterday that I saw people complaining about is that they made shot focus available to everyone, which I thought was a good change. But I had people in the comments being like, well, I had this cool thing like shot focus that other players didn't have, and that was like a reward for really grinding the game, and now everyone's gonna get it. Something to show off that's cosmetic, as hey, I grinded the daylights out of this game. Hey, I did the hard thing. Maybe it's like an achievement for beating Dead Bride in under 5 seconds or something like that. You could get a skin. Something that rewards players, dedication to the game cosmetically would be really cool. Next, we get to firearms, where the community has said that there's a lack of incentive to obtain ultimate weapons and they lack uniqueness. We'd like to see more polished and unique ultimate weapons, and we'd like new firearms to diversify options and reworks to make existing firearms feel more distinctive. We plan to rebalance ultimate weapons in Season 2 to give players a broader choice based on their preferences. Additionally, we'll continue to add ultimate weapons with interesting stats and effects to make them more worthwhile to collect. Good changes there, no notes. Hopefully we get some more choices and improved ultimate weapons. I think the reworks that they did to the 3 ultimate weapons yesterday was actually pretty good. I'd love to see them look at assault rifles, because all the assault rifles kind of suck, but good notes there. We'd like to add zoom support for ADS with firearms. Basically, they say that that's not really on our agenda right now, being able to aim down sights with an assault rifle. Next, we get to reactors. We'd like to add a feature to adjust the type and number of secondary options on reactors. Currently, we don't support readjustments since reactors only have 2 options, but we received a lot of feedback about this. We're considering increasing the reactor's options to 4 or raising the cost of readjustments, with further details to be shared in a future dev note. Personally, I don't think you need to be able to like re-roll your reactors if there's only 2 options. If there's 4 options, I could see that being a thing. Adding 4 things on a reactor would be interesting. I don't think it's necessary, personally. I kind of like that you've got like a mobbing and a bossing reactor rather than like a be-all reactor, be-all, end-all for every content. So I don't mind the 2 options. I think the implant system is a good change. I think the cost of implanting is too high right now. I'd like to be able to do that more freely, and I think a lot of the reactor things would be alleviated. The big thing with reactors is they're not mandatory. You do not need a god tier reactor to beat a boss. You don't need a god tier reactor to do any content. It's just min-maxing. And so I think like let us min-max, let us have that like, that like strive to get a perfect thing. And it's like, it's a long form goal to get a little bit more damage here, a little bit more quality of life here. But I do think that the like cost of like implanting reactors right now is just too high. So hopefully they look into that. We'd like to add crafting of rare reactors for better build variety. We've noticed feedback about consumable materials and cost for implant. We'll review the data if needed to increase ways to earn more materials. Our direction for reactor improvements include optimizing the rotation system to simplify farming for ultimate reactors and creating an environment for more interesting builds by introducing new reactor tiers in the future. Whoa. New reactor tiers. You think we're going to get like transcendent reactors or something like that? Like, it could be kind of insane. I do think that the like reactor farming system right now is a little bit broken. I thought the weekly rotations were honestly pretty good, and then they added the dedicated drops, which are really good, but I feel like they're kind of clashing with each other a bit, where it kind of needs to be one or the other. But I think there's ways to have both. They just kind of need to work through that. Add more ways to obtain modules. Shut focus. They did that in 1.16. Increase the performance of transcendent modules. They're going to review the underutilized transcendent modules and adjust to allow for more variety in their usage. Add a feature to delete modules from the inventory. They did add the modules going to your lost and found, and they added inventory. Add an auto combine feature. We plan to add a hotfix to add auto combine for modules. That's awesome. Add functionalities for search for modules. We believe more Q quality of life improvements like these are important. They're going to be working on that. Customization. Here's some big things. Currently, customization options for our characters are limited. We'd like to see more options for appearance elements. Basically, they say, we've decided to expand our art team capacity to produce more of them, so more customization options coming soon. Allow us to dye the default character appearance. Big one here. We've listened to your requests, and with the start of Season 2, both Descendant and Ultimate Descendant default appearances will be dyeable. We apologize for the delay in implementing this highly requested feature. Additionally, as noted in previous update notes, dedicated spawns and back attachments will become shared items starting in Season 2. That's a fantastic change. That is absolutely necessary change. Customization in a free-to-play game should be like the big thing, or should be one of the big things. And the customization options compared to other free-to-play counterparts, looking at you, Warframe, was just pretty lacking in TFD. The ability to dye your defaults is massive. I think that'll help new players and like players that have been playing the game for a while, because sometimes the default ultimate skins look better than like the ones that come with it. So really great change there. Next up, the limited selection of skins makes it hard to customize as desired. Release more skins with both casual and unique themes. That's right. Our data shows that skins with a wide variety of themes are very popular. In response, we're expanding our team to create more skins with these themes. Player suggestion with UI, UX. Customization system isn't very user-friendly, and the process for changing character appearance is complicated. We anticipate more usability improvements. Then they're working on that. Just the Twisted Worship outfit. I don't know why that made it into the Q&A, but they did that. Make character skins in the Battle Pass and skins for the firearms that players use more frequently, use more appealing. I misread that a bit, but basically, in the Battle Pass for Season 1, there was nothing for weapons and things that people actually use, and so they said we've received a lot of feedback about the Battle Pass during the preseason and in Season 1. In Season 2, we plan to look into adding Descendant skins and popular firearm skins. we absolutely need skins for the ultimate weapons that people are using. The Enduring Legacy, the Secret Garden, the Thunder Cage. These weapons. It'd be really cool to be able to match the weapons with your character customization and appearance. We just don't have that right now, so really hope that they cook on this. I'd be happy if they added firearm skins into the store as well. It doesn't not just need to be in the season pass. Just wanted to point that out. We just want to buy skins without bundle packages. It feels excessive. The prices for skins enhancement materials are too high. We've listened to your feedback, and the team and business units have agreed to sell all cosmetics, skins, spawns, back attachments, chest attachments separately. Dude, the devs are just taking W after W. For example, I really wanted the wings that are being sold right now in the Bunny and Glay thing, but it's like $30, so I wasn't going to spend that, to be honest. But I would buy them separately. I would absolutely buy them separately. So it sounds like they're going to be selling basically everything separately, which is just a massive, awesome change. And that policy will go into effect at the start of Season 2. Are there any plans to sell retired skins, or are they truly off the market? Many players have requested the sale of retired skins. While we're carefully considering changes to the store display for regular sales, we decided in coordination with the dev team and our business team to change our policy for upcoming skins to be available for regular sale, except for certain seasonal event skins. For former skins, we plan to add previously retired Ultimate Descendant skins as in individual items. As for other skins, we are carefully reviewing our options. Basically, if you missed out, they're going to be eliminating some of the FOMO from some of the skins that you can buy. So good change there. We like that. Add the ability to use surplus materials to craft amorphous materials. We'll continue adding new systems to make use of surplus materials, similar to how ETA provides an opportunity to exchange surplus blueprints for other items. Our plans to support utilizing surplus materials, currencies, and other resources in innovative ways. Servers, optimization lag. We're experiencing stuttering. They're looking into that for the 400% dungeons. So changes coming there. Trading system. Players can't really trade items with other players. To be honest, we're taking a conservative approach to the trading system, as our current priority is live service stability and improving content satisfaction. We don't think it's the right time to introduce it just yet, but we'll continue to evaluate its feasibility. I actually agree 100% with this. I was originally on board with the idea of a player trading economy. I now think that would be one of the fastest ways to kill the game. Just to put it simply, Warframe is a great example. Warframe has an amazing player trading economy. But Warframe is also a game that's been out for 10 plus years, and it has so much stuff. It has so many weapons and things that it works great because there's no feasible way for you. You're not just going to acquire all of those things in a year of playing. The first Descendant just simply doesn't have enough. It doesn't have enough weapons. It doesn't have enough ultimates. The game has been out for less than 5 months. It doesn't make sense to add a trading system where now we've got all the surpluses of everything and everyone's got all these surplus materials. I think it would just kill the game's farming economy. And also, this game is one of those games where once you have everything, it's what is there to do now that I've farmed everything? And players would get to that point of, I have everything way faster if there was trading. And so while I do think that there would be a cool economy to trade some things, for example, I think it'd be cool if you could trade reactors. If you got a god tier reactor, you could trade it with someone, or a god tier component, something like that has the RNG to it. That could be a cool trading system, but I don't think right now it would be a good idea to implement trading for ultimate weapon or ultimate Descendant parts. Just my personal opinion. You may disagree, but I really do think that trading would be a negative to the game at this point. I think maybe 3 years from now, when there's a bunch of stuff, trading would make a lot of sense. As an easier way to get into the game as a free-to-play player. But right now, I just think that would be a bad idea. Add a system or space to display own Descendants like figurines. We like this idea. It's under consideration as a medium to long-term project. Add photo mode. It's difficult to say when this might be feasible, and we're looking into it for the future. that was a lot. We're going to read through this last note. We're interested to hear your thoughts on the devs' responses. For any questions we couldn't answer today, we plan to open a new Q&A channel on our official Discord next week, where the development team will respond directly. That's pretty cool. We'd appreciate if you could join us there and share your questions and feedback. The team is currently hard at work on Season 2, scheduled for release on December 5th. Drawing from our experiences with the Season 1 update, we want to ensure we gather ample player feedback to refine content ahead of new updates. As a part of this plan, we'll be conducting focus group testing specifically for the new Season 2 content. I have not been approached or asked about anything for a focus group test. I am still very open to that. If they are looking for some more direct feedback rather than from YouTube videos, I'd be happy to help out with a focus group test. And it does sound like, I asked my chat yesterday, it does sound like people have been contacted to be part of a focus group, so it does look like that's already underway. We'll be sharing details on Discord, inviting players to preview the Season 2 content and provide feedback. While some issues may not be resolved immediately, we're committed to gathering early feedback and incorporating as much of it as possible to shape the first Descendant into a game that truly reflects your ideas. We'll be back in November with more details about Season 2, and we'll keep you posted on our progress moving forward. As always, we'll continue to listen to your valuable feedback and do our best to improve your game experience. Awesome. First off, I think this is really good. I love that they did this big Q&A. I'd love to see them make this like a regular thing where, you know, after Season 2, they do something similar. After Season 3, they do something similar. And I think they addressed a lot of things. I think there is some things that they didn't address. That is, you know, definitely an issue. And I think the biggest thing that comes to mind that they just didn't bring up that I'm sure they saw, maybe, I don't know. But the biggest thing that I'm hearing from players is the fact that matchmaking in public intercepts is very difficult because you get people that don't know the fights, that aren't prepared, that don't know what to do, and it can be very frustrating. And finding groups, even when they're like recruit chats, not all that great. I would love to see, like, obviously they're like adding things to kind of improve early game leveling and like get players more on the right foot early game. I would love to see, like, I don't know how it would be implemented. I don't know the right way. I'm not a game dev, but it would be cool to see basically some sort of like personal progression checks that kind of make sure that players are keeping up with their upgrades and keeping up with their things so that they are being able to participate in the hardest levels of content. An example of something like this is Warframe's MR checks. Basically, in TFD, when you're leveling up your weapons, you just get to like MR5, MR6, MR7, Warframe, in order to like ensure that players are fully grasping all of the new concepts that are being thrown at them, have MR tests to make sure that they have a Warframe that is powerful enough to clear a bunch of ads alone, or have a Warframe that can do some of the like mini games or do the stealth sections or something like that. Something like that could be interesting for public matchmaking things, where like maybe you have a challenge. In order to progress onto Gluttony, you have to get a solo clear of Pyromaniac. Something like that, where, you know, you're making sure that players are progressing on their characters and their weapons so that they contribute to these things, because it's very possible to just get hard carried up to like bosses like Gluttony, up to Molten Fortress, and then you can't get carried in those fights as hard, and then you've got people that are not able to really participate and not have as much fun because they don't know what to do and they're just getting whooped by these bosses. So I think something like that could be really interesting. I think like a level requirement, you know, there's no reason to be able to join Gluttony on a level 2 character. You probably should be at least level 30 or higher on your Descendant to join those fights. I think something like that could be really cool. And I'm not trying to like gatekeep these harder fights, but I think for everyone's enjoyment of these harder bosses, I think there needs to be some more like progression checks to make sure that players are keeping up with their upgrades, because the game is only going to get harder. And if people are getting hard carried, it's only going to become more and more of an issue. And so just something I wanted to point out. Guys, that is the end of the video. Long video. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry for, I mean, there was a lot of notes. I kind of had to read through all of them, and I wanted to discuss and give my feedback on them. But yeah, definitely a pretty long video. Hope you enjoyed. I will catch y'all in the next one. Guys, take care. Peace.